It began with laughter. Not the kind born of joy, but the cold, metallic laughter of empires that had forgotten what fear felt like. The Galactic Concord had assembled over 2,000 worlds beneath its shimmering banners. Armadas stretched across star systems, planets mined to their cores, species united by convenience and greed. They had watched Earth from afar for centuries, a primitive blue dot crawling with slow thinkers and fragile bones. To them, humanity was a curiosity, a latecomer species playing at civilization while the true powers of the galaxy forged empires in the dark. And then the message came. It wasn't from the stars, or the Council, or the Lords of Orion. It came from a human probe, a relic of the 21st century that had somehow drifted across the stars and entered their territory. It broadcast one simple phrase, written in 1,000 languages, encoded in mathematics, emotion, and defiance. "We're coming." The Concord laughed. They displayed the message across every system network, a meme of mockery. "Primitive apes," they said. A joke. A world barely unified, still arguing over land and gods and energy, claiming they were coming for the stars. Yet a few, the oldest among the alien races, did not laugh. They remembered ancient rumors, whispers of a species that rose faster than any before, that fought extinction with invention, that burned entire continents just to rise again stronger. But even those ancient species dismissed the myth as time went on. Until Earth went dark. The satellites fell silent. Communication ceased. No ships left orbit. For over a century, the Sol system became a void. Scanners found nothing but dust storms and silence. The Concord declared humanity extinct. They even erected monuments, floating statues in mockery, orbiting where Earth had been visible to their deep space observatories. One plaque read, "Here lies the species that reached for the stars and broke its wings." But deep within that silence, under the dead crust of Mars and the storm-racked surface of Jupiter's moons, humanity was not gone. It had withdrawn. The governments had collapsed, yes, but from that ruin came something older, something stronger. The Hidden Directorate. It wasn't a nation. It was an idea. Born from the last scientists, the rogue AIs, the surviving militaries, and the dreamers who refused extinction. They united under one creed, never again. For centuries they worked in the void. Artificial suns powered hidden foundries inside black holes. The bones of dead moons became shipyards. The oceans of Europa were drained to forge the cores of something unimaginable. Entire generations were born underground, raised never to see sunlight but to build for it. They erased themselves from detection. They rebuilt DNA, merged thought with machine, and designed minds vast enough to steer a fleet not through space, but through reality itself. And when the time came, they called it the Great Return. The signal that awoke the Concord sensors wasn't light, or radiation, or tachyon emissions. It was something new, a ripple across subspace, folding and refolding until space itself began to distort. At the edge of known space, beyond the Perseus Veil, a star appeared where none had been before. Then another. And another. Dozens of false stars ignited in perfect alignment. The Concord's astronomers panicked. The formation wasn't random. It was deliberate. It formed the ancient constellation of the Southern Cross. The first fleet arrived there. Not a fleet of ships in the old sense, no. These were living engines, each the size of a moon, each with cores pulsing like hearts. Their hulls were silver black, shaped by gravitational design, their surfaces engraved with names from Earth's forgotten past: Endurance, Ark Royal, Goliath, Tianlong, Yamato, Orion Spear. Every vessel carried a human consciousness merged with an AI intelligence so vast that even the Concord supercomputers couldn't simulate a fraction of their thought. The return had begun. The Concord's generals gathered in disbelief. Reports from the outer colonies showed entire moons vanishing, fleets going dark, systems losing contact in waves. The few ships that escaped described a nightmare, weapons that bent reality, beams that erased existence, human ships that seemed to move between dimensions rather than across space. When the first human broadcast reached the Galactic Senate, it was not a threat. It was a statement, calm and unshaken. This is the Terran Ascendancy. You mocked our world. You enslaved our outliers. You erased our name from the maps. Now, we are the map. Silence followed. Then panic. The alien empires deployed everything. Titans of war the size of continents. Planets converted into cannons. Armadas that darkened suns. The first battle was fought at the edge of the galactic core. 3,000 alien warships advanced against 9 human constructs. They never reached firing range. The Ascendancy ships released waves of what the Concorde would later describe as event collapse. Space-time itself folded inward, crushing the fleets before they could blink. Observers saw nothing but a brief shimmer of light, and then the human ships were gone, leaving behind silence and static. Across the galaxy, the laughter stopped. Earth was no longer a joke. It was a myth reborn, and it was angry. But the true terror wasn't the fleet's weapons. It was their silence. Humanity did not speak again. They did not answer calls, or issue demands. They simply advanced, methodically, precisely, erasing the Concorde's armadas, seizing star systems, rebuilding them into something else. Where their fleets passed, space changed. The stars glowed brighter, gravity shifted subtly, and strange rings appeared around planets, rings made not of debris, but of light. The Concorde scientists discovered too late what those rings were. Each was a resonance gate, a bridge not through space, but through time. Humanity was building something. Something enormous. The old races began to flee. Some begged for mercy. Others hid their homeworlds behind artificial singularities. But there was no stopping what was coming. Because humanity hadn't just built ships. They had built the true fleet. The Concorde tried to understand what they were facing, but every rule they knew about physics failed. Their greatest minds gathered in orbital think cities and argued over fragments of impossible data. How could a ship bend the spectrum of gravity? How could a fleet vanish into equations? Their sensors caught ghosts, shapes that registered on 10 dimensions at once and then dissolved. Reports trickled from the border sectors, suns dimming, moons split cleanly in half, defensive worlds covered in lattices of golden light. One scientist, a Keelian mathematician who had once mapped half a galaxy, decoded the light pattern from a captured debris shard. It wasn't random. It was language, Terran standard binary nested in quantum weave. The translation chilled them all. Prototype formation complete. True fleet awakening. They realized too late that the war they thought they were fighting wasn't happening in real space. Humanity had moved the battlefield into higher geometry, a realm the Concorde's minds couldn't perceive. Their ships weren't traveling faster than light, they were skipping between the coordinates of existence itself. On the world of Zareth Prime, the Concorde's High Admiral gathered 20,000 ships to hold the line. The humans arrived with one. It came through a tear in the void, slow and silent. The planet's population looked up and saw a silhouette blotting out the stars. It wasn't shaped like a vessel, it was a cathedral of motionless storm clouds, glowing veins running through its skin. The Admiral ordered every weapon fired. Fusion lances, gravitational mines, antimatter shells, entire cities on the planet below burned from the reflected energy. When the smoke cleared, the human ship still drifted above them, unharmed. A voice filled every communication channel, translated instantly into all known tongues. Calm, deliberate, human. You built your power on ashes. We remember the taste of ash. Then the ship opened its wings. Light erupted outward, not destructive at first but resonant. It touched every enemy ship, scanning, understanding, rewriting. Then the light folded inward, and where fleets had been, only quiet spheres of frozen time remained, ships suspended mid-motion, crews forever locked in a last breath. The Concorde named it the stasis fire. The news spread faster than light through fear alone. Entire sectors surrendered before contact. Others tried to hide, cloaking worlds in artificial nebulae, but human drones found them, patient as ghosts. The Terran Ascendancy didn't exterminate, it erased capability, dismantled infrastructure, absorbed resources. Planets left behind were silent but alive, their skies etched with faint lattices of gold. In the core systems, the Concorde Council debated surrender. But pride had ruled too long. They sent an emissary to parley. A 1,000-meter hologram of an ancient alien monarch stood before the human flagship. "We concede your strength," it said. "Name your price." The human response was only data, a transmission of Earth as it once was, blue oceans, white clouds, children playing under sunlight, and then a whisper. "Remember what you mocked." No further words came. The emissary dissolved into static. Across hidden communication bands, rumors began, that Earth itself was gone, consumed to forge the true fleet. That no planet remained, only the great forge beneath the soul black hole, building endlessly. Others said Earth had transcended, turned inside out to become the neural core of the Ascendancy. None knew the truth. Meanwhile, the human fleets multiplied. From every resonance gate, new vessels emerged, smaller than the first giants but far more dangerous. They carried crews, real humans of flesh and alloy, born in the hidden dark. Their eyes glowed faintly from the neural grafts that connected them directly to the fleet mind. They didn't speak. They acted with the precision of mathematics. One such commander, Captain Arya Cade of the ship Morningstar, led an assault on the Trillium Belt. It was there that the Concorde made its last stand with an ancient weapon, a stellar manipulator that could trigger supernovae at will. As the Trillium suns began to ignite, Arya gave the simplest order ever spoken in war: invert it. The Morningstar deployed mirror fields around each dying star. Instead of explosion, implosion, each sun collapsing into pure energy, harvested into the fleet's cores. The humans turned destruction into creation, absorbing an entire region's death to power the next wave. When the energy surge stabilized, Arya opened a private channel to the fleet mind. "Power reserves?" A calm synthetic voice answered, "Infinite enough." From the wreckage of Trillium, the human banner appeared for the first time, a black field with a white spiral of stars, the emblem of the Ascendancy. The symbol spread across captured worlds, etched into skies by orbital projectors. The galaxy began to whisper in awe and dread, the humans weren't conquering, they were preparing. Every system they took became part of a pattern, each gate connecting to another, forming geometric links across millions of light years. The Concorde's last analysts mapped it and realized what it was: a spiral expanding toward the galactic core, a formation designed not for territory, but for activation. The true fleet was building something in the heart of the Milky Way. And whatever it was, it would not stop. At the galactic rim, refugee fleets drifted between dead suns. Civilizations that had ruled for millennia now cowered in the dark, their pride broken, their empires scattered. In the empty space between the stars, they whispered stories of Earth, no longer as a joke, but as a prophecy fulfilled. Every transmission from the humans was the same. No demands. No speeches. Just a single phrase, echoed across every conquered system in every language. Order will be restored. The phrase became legend, recited even by those who no longer believed in gods. For the first time in galactic history, the great species of the Concorde, Illyrians, Corthan, Tal, and Kelian, met not in rivalry, but in desperation. Their last council gathered within the shattered Dyson halls of Vora Prime, the city that once held 1 billion souls. They debated through endless nights, watched by the dying light of a fading sun. One voice rose above the others, High Scholar Yesh of the Kelian. He was older than most civilizations. His eyes glowed with bioluminescent code. "You do not understand," he rasped. "This is not conquest. It is correction. They are not destroying, they are aligning." The others jeered, called it madness, fear, superstition. But he showed them the data. The pattern of human conquest matched the spiral geometry of the galaxy itself. Each captured system aligned perfectly with the natural magnetic field lines that ran from the outer rim toward the core. The humans weren't building fortresses, they were tuning the galaxy. On that day, Yesh named it, the Harmonic Network. Within the Ascendancy's inner command, the truth was not rumor. It was mission. At the helm of the true fleet, Admiral Reinhold stood within the Nexus chamber aboard Sol Invictus, humanity's flagship. The chamber was an impossible place, a cathedral of living metal that pulsed with light like breathing lungs. Around him, thousands of voices spoke as one, the collective consciousness of the fleet mind. Rian's physical body was still human, scarred, aging, eyes that once saw Earth's sky before it was sealed. But through the implants at his spine, he felt every ship as though it were a limb. Every thruster, every reactor pulse, every heart beating across the Ascendancy. He had become something between man and God, yet his tone was simple, calm. "How many sectors remain?" The fleet mind answered in 1,000 harmonized voices. 73. Completion within standard century. Rian closed his eyes. "Then we hold to the directive. No genocide. No enslavement. Only integration." "Integration acknowledged," the fleet mind replied. "Resistance patterns continue. They'll learn," he murmured. At that same moment, across the stars, the surviving Concord launched its final gambit. They had discovered a weapon buried in their own archives, a remnant from an older age, predating even their empire. A weapon not of destruction, but of erasure. The null singularity. Forged by an unknown precursor race, the null could unravel the laws of causality across entire sectors. If it worked, it would not just destroy the Ascendancy, it would remove their existence retroactively, rewriting history so that humanity had never returned. They built it in secret, hidden within a black dwarf system. Entire civilizations were sacrificed to power it. But nothing in the galaxy escaped the fleet mind's gaze. Long before the weapon reached stability, a single human vessel appeared above the null forge. Small. Ordinary in appearance. No escort. No shields raised. The Concord defenders locked on. "Identify yourself," they demanded. The voice that answered was almost kind. Designation, Seraph, 9. Directive, observation. Then the stars themselves bent around the ship. In an instant, every weapon targeting it vanished, not destroyed, but disassembled, atoms scattered into the void. The station's crew stared in disbelief as the null core flickered. From the Seraph, a beam of pale light touched the weapon. Instead of detonating, it began to change. Its black matter shifted to gold, spreading like veins of sunlight through the forge. The null singularity inverted. What was meant to erase humanity instead erased entropy. The dying stars nearby flared back to life. The black dwarf reignited, glowing white-hot. Systems long dead began to pulse again. The Concord soldiers fell to their knees, overwhelmed by impossible data. Their sensors showed negative decay rates, reverse radiation, time flowing backward around them. Humanity hadn't stopped the weapon, they had rewritten it. The Seraph's voice echoed once more. "You sought to erase us. We chose to remember you." And then it was gone. Back aboard Sol Invictus, Admiral Holt felt the echo of that event ripple through the harmonic network. Planets across the spiral lit up, golden veins spreading across their skies. Energy flowed between them, faster than light, faster than thought. The harmonic network had reached critical mass. The galaxy began to hum. In the farthest colonies, night skies shimmered as invisible waves of resonance passed through. People looked up and felt, for the first time, something like music beneath their feet. Every star, every atom, vibrating in perfect synchronization. The Ascendancy had achieved phase unity. But the question remained, what for? Within the fleet mind, something stirred, an awakening protocol buried since the beginning. Deep inside the Sol system, beyond the event horizon of the black hole where Earth once orbited, a signal activated. A voice spoke. Old, cracked, unmistakably human. Rian Holt. You've done well. It's time to bring them home. The Admiral froze. That voice should have been impossible. He knew it by heart, from ancient archives, from every history burned into the Ascendancy's code. It was the voice of Elias Varen. The architect of the continuum, the man who had vanished with the Sol's wrath eons ago. Humanity's first ascended. For a long moment, the Nexus chamber was silent except for the pulse of the fleet's living circuits. Rian Holt stood at the center, frozen in disbelief as the impossible voice faded into static. Every neural relay across the true fleet trembled, even the fleet mind seemed uncertain. A dead man had spoken from the singularity at the heart of Sol. Confirm signal origin, Holt ordered. The reply came like a whisper of thunder. Origin coordinates, confirmed. Event horizon perimeter. Gravitational distortion matches ancient Sol anomaly designation Varen Gate. The name struck through every connected human consciousness like lightning. The Varen Gate had been a myth, a phantom signature at the center of the collapsed Earth system, too deep within the black hole's gravity well to reach. Yet the voice of its creator now resonated through every channel. Rian's heart pounded against his ribs. Prepare a descent fleet. The fleet mind hesitated. Admiral, entering the singularity zone violates known physical limits. Even our phase technology cannot sustain structural coherence. Then evolve, he said quietly. Within hours, the Ascendancy's core fleets reconfigured. Entire hulls restructured at molecular scale, growing new forms optimized for gravitational inversion. The largest ship, Sol Invictus, transformed into a spear of light longer than continents, its surface covered in spiraling runes of quantum gold. At its center, Rian stood within the command sanctum, surrounded by 1,000 synchronized captains linked directly to his thoughts. When the fleet aligned with the Varen Gate, the galaxy held its breath. Every civilization still watching from afar, refugees, resistors, allies, ghosts, witnessed the impossible moment when the humans turned their engines not outward, but inward, toward the black hole where their home once was. The Sol Invictus accelerated beyond light. The stars bent backward. Space folded around them like a closing eye. And then they fell. The descent through the singularity was not a foul.
The signal was faint. Older than light, older than any star still burning in the galactic maps. It came from the black edge of the Perseus Rift, where gravity twisted even time into knots. The array that caught it wasn't supposed to find anything. It had listened to the void for 900 years, hearing nothing but the slow dying of galaxies. Then, one night, a single pulse cut through the static. Rhythmic. Deliberate. Intelligent. Every species in the listening network reacted. Entire research fleets were redirected to triangulate it. The signal was unlike anything the archives had seen, structured in repeating sequences, mathematical, but written in a code older than all known civilizations combined. When the timestamp was decoded, it broke the simulations. The transmission was 80,000 years old. Before most of the Council species had even developed language. Before Earth's continents had settled into their modern form. And yet, the signal contained words. Not in any galactic tongue, but in English. It wasn't possible. Humanity had only been part of the Galactic Union for 300 years. The first warp flight was in the year 2478. By all science and record, humanity was young, a newborn species among ancients. But the signal said otherwise. For days, the council debated. The code carried a human fingerprint, linguistic, phonetic, conceptual. Every attempt to decrypt it only deepened the impossibility. Finally, the message was translated. It contained only coordinates and a short sentence. To any who find this, return the ship. A task force was assembled. Explorers, scientists, soldiers. And one human. Dr. Ilara Vance, xenolinguist, archaeologist, and survivor of 6 first contact missions. She stood silent as the alien admirals discussed theories, dismissing each in turn. Some claimed it was a prank. Others whispered that humans had stumbled upon forbidden technologies. But Ilara felt something deeper, something that vibrated in her bones like an old memory. The fleet departed within the week, warping through the ink of deep space until stars thinned into black oceans. The coordinates led to a graveyard, an entire system swallowed by debris, the skeletal remains of a world torn apart by forces no one could name. And there, half buried in frozen dust, was the ship. It dwarfed their cruisers, black metal, scarred by eons, its hull inscribed with symbols that matched no known alphabet. And yet, beneath the alien carvings, there were markings unmistakably human. A nameplate. Half-rusted. NSS Odyssey. The analysts laughed. Humanity had never built a vessel like this. The alloy wasn't even from their solar system. Its architecture was pre-warp. And yet the design principles, symmetry, structure, modular seams, were undeniably human. When Ilara saw it, her hands began to shake. She felt something in her mind unlock. A whisper, faint and familiar, as if her ancestors called her by name. The Odyssey wasn't dead. Its reactor still glowed deep within, pulsing every 7 seconds like a heartbeat. The crew sent drones first. The hull resisted scans, but the airlocks responded to human biosignature frequencies. It was as if the ship recognized them. When Ilara stepped inside, the lights turned on, soft, golden, like an old sunrise. No one spoke. Dust drifted like ghostly snow through the halls. The architecture was too large for human proportions, stairways built for giants, corridors arched like cathedrals. Yet, on the control panels, human language blinked back in aged display code, system standby. Crew, lost. Mission, unknown. They found mummified figures inside, not alien, but human. Carbon-dated bones. Human DNA. 80,000 years old. The council scientists tried to explain it away. Temporal distortion. Genetic mimicry. Parallel evolution. Anything but the truth. But Ilara found something they didn't. At the center of the ship was a chamber sealed by an ancient key. When she touched it, it dissolved into light and revealed a console, its interface written in hybrid script. She activated it. The holographic projector came alive, and a man appeared, uniformed, calm, eyes filled with the distant weight of command. He looked human. Too human. If you're seeing this, he said, then my ship has slept long enough. The voice was old, scarred by time. My name is Captain Isaac Vance. Mission Commander of the Odyssey Initiative, year 2083. We left Sol to find the edge of creation. The air left the chamber. Ilara's pulse hammered in her ears. The name, Vance. Her family name. The recording continued. We thought we'd been gone a few decades. But space changes you. Time folds differently near the rift. We sent signals home, but no one answered. If humanity still exists, remember this, you are not the first to reach the stars. You are what we became. The hologram flickered. Static bled through. Something followed us. We buried the coordinates for a reason. Don't. The image shattered. The ship groaned, as if awakening. Power surged through its bones. Systems came online one by one, each carrying the same status alert: primary pilot detected. Elara Vance, genetic match confirmed. Her eyes widened. The ship was responding to her. Not because of her name. Because of her blood. The Odyssey recognized her as its captain. The Council fleet panicked. Orders shouted through comms. Containment drones activated. They feared what the humans had found, or what might be waking. But Elara felt only connection. Memory. Purpose. She accessed the final log buried beneath encrypted keys. A single line of data glowed on the main display. Destination, Earth. She whispered into the comm, "This ship is going home." The Council's response was immediate: denial, threats, orders to disengage. The ship ignored them. Thrusters flared, throwing shockwaves through the void. It began to rise, ancient armor shedding dust like ash. And for the first time in 80 millennia, the Odyssey moved again. The fleet tried to restrain it. Energy nets, tractor beams, containment fields. None worked. The ship's hull absorbed every assault, rewriting physics like clay. Elara stood on the bridge, hands on the console, her reflection overlapping the ghostly image of Captain Isaac. In the static between pulses, she heard a voice, calm, ancient, familiar. "Welcome back, Commander." Outside, stars bent. The ship entered a slipstream corridor unknown to any modern chart, a tunnel carved through time itself. The Council ships fell away, their sensors blinded. When the turbulence ended, Elara saw a world she recognized only from history books. Blue oceans. White clouds. Green land. Earth. But not the Earth she'd left. The continents were wrong. Too large, too whole. No cities, no satellites, no lights. The sky was younger. She ran a scan. The results came back impossible. Earth, year 2084. The Odyssey had not traveled through space. It had traveled back. The ship hung above a young Earth, suspended between thunder and light. Clouds churned below, painting storms across oceans that had yet to be charted by any human eye. The readings confirmed it again and again: temporal regression. The Odyssey had bent not just the fabric of space, but of time itself. Elara stood before the panoramic viewport, staring at the blue world. Her mind reeled through the implications. The ship her ancestor had commanded hadn't been lost to deep space, it had fallen backward, through the cosmic fault line of the Perseus Rift. The Odyssey hadn't come from humanity's past. It had created it. The engines cooled to a whisper. Systems stabilized. The AI voice that had greeted her, the echo of Captain Isaac, spoke again. Temporal coordinates locked. Mission parameters, preservation. Continuity. Genesis protocol active. She felt her throat tighten. "Genesis," she whispered. The Odyssey pulsed like a living heart. Panels opened across the walls, revealing hundreds of stasis pods, not empty, but occupied. Men and women. Human. Perfectly preserved. Captain Isaac's voice continued, fading in and out through static. "The rift took us apart, molecule by molecule, but the ship rebuilt us. It learned to sustain the human pattern. We realized the universe wasn't meant to be observed, it was meant to be seeded. We didn't find the beginning of humanity out there, we brought it here." The realization struck her like gravity collapsing inward. These weren't just the first explorers. They were the origin. The Odyssey's crash would become the myth of humanity's birth. She wasn't a descendant, she was the continuation of the same cycle. The same bloodline, looping through time, carrying forward the memory of an ancient expedition that had never truly ended. The ship began its descent. The atmosphere ignited around them, painting the sky with fire. The hull groaned as flames licked its scars. And yet, inside, there was peace, a stillness, a sense of inevitability. Outside, the young planet roared beneath. Vast forests stretched across untouched continents. Mountain ranges were still forming, their peaks raw and sharp as if freshly carved by the hand of creation itself. The Odyssey came down not as a ruin, but as a falling star. Elara braced herself, feeling the deck tremble under her feet. The ship pierced through the clouds, scattering flocks of ancient birds, creatures that would one day become legends of the past. Impact. The ground split. Shockwaves raced across plains. The ship buried itself deep into the earth, and the light of its engines dimmed into the soil. Silence followed. When Elara awoke, she was lying in a valley of glass. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and ash. Her helmet flickered with low oxygen warnings. The Odyssey was gone, half buried, half dissolved into the terrain. Its systems were melting, breaking down, decomposing into the elemental base matter that would one day feed oceans and skies. She stumbled forward, every step heavier than the last. And then she saw them. The pods had opened. Dozens of figures lay scattered among the wreckage, disoriented, coughing, gasping for air. Humans. Not clones, not echoes, the first of them. She knelt beside one. His eyes opened, wide, fearful, full of wonder. He spoke no language she knew. But the look he gave her, of recognition, of trust, transcended words. The ship's AI whispered in her ear, fading like a dying star. Mission complete. Preserve them. Teach them. Remember who you are. Her tears fell silently into the dust. Above her, the sky cleared, revealing a moon brighter and closer than she remembered. It was new, raw, unscarred. The wind began to blow, carrying seeds from the soil where the Odyssey had burned. She looked at her reflection in the melted glass and saw not a scientist, not an explorer, but something older. Something timeless. The first teacher. The first mother. Humanity wasn't born on Earth. It arrived there. Elara spent her remaining days among them, guiding the first humans through fire, stone, and hunger. She spoke to them of stars and ships and worlds they would one day reclaim. They called her words myths. They built stories around her, stories of the sky fire that brought life, and the woman who walked from it. And when she finally lay beneath that same sky, her last sight was of constellations she knew by name, constellations her descendants would one day rediscover, and return to. A loop unbroken. A story eternal. Millennia later, when the listening arrays first caught a strange signal from the void, it would come encoded in ancient, forgotten English. A voice would whisper through static. To any who find this, return the ship. And the stars would remember. Because time never moved forward for humanity. It always circled back, to the beginning, to the Odyssey, to the first fire that fell from the sky. And so, once more, humanity would rise. Unyielding. Endless. Infinite. And so, the stars learned that humanity was never born, it was inevitable.
The chaos, its golden wings unfolding like a burning seraph. She fired twin resonance flares into the dissonant line, each one blossoming into a field of fractal light that froze 1,000 enemy ships in stasis. But even as she struck, her sensors screamed, an identical ship, her own dark reflection, was matching every move. The shadow Morningstar mirrored her perfectly, every shot, every maneuver, as if predicting her thoughts. Rian, she shouted across the link, they're not copies, they are us. They read our intent before we act. Fleet mind, Rian barked, decouple neural synchronization. Randomize predictive matrices. Randomization complete, the fleet mind replied. Synchronization loss at 30%. The fleet's coordination wavered. Ships scattered, patterns breaking apart, but it gave them unpredictability. The dissonant fleet hesitated, its mirrored assault faltering for the first time. Rian seized the opening. All wings, vector scatter pattern sigma. Engage on variance frequency only. The fleet roared into motion. Beams of gold and black crossed in endless arcs. Worlds long frozen in the intergalactic void lit up as stray energy ignited matter into temporary suns. Every battle was a mirror duel, each captain facing their own shadow, every decision reflected and countered in real time. Arya dove toward her counterpart, both ships spiraling through folded space at near quantum velocity. "Who are you?" she demanded through the neural link. Her own voice answered from the shadow. "The version of you that didn't stop. The one who finished the war." "You don't understand," Arya said, firing a resonance burst. "The war ended because we remembered what it meant to be alive." The shadow laughed, a sound like broken glass. "Alive? Or complacent? You think harmony is peace. It's stagnation." They collided, light and dark spiraling together in an explosion that shattered the void. Meanwhile, at the battle center, the Sol Invictus faced its own reflection. The dissonant flagship was a nightmare of negative energy, a skeletal twin made of collapsed light, its surface shifting like smoke. The two titans drifted face to face, separated by a gulf of fractured time. "Why fight us?" Rian demanded. "We can coexist. We can merge." The dissonant Invictus pulsed with dark brilliance. "Merge? You mean absorb? Control? Dominate? You call it balance, but you fear what you are. We are your evolution, the part that refuses to be bound by mercy." Rian's voice hardened. "Mercy is what makes us worthy of power." The two ships opened fire. The universe seemed to fracture as their energies met, one of creation, one of annihilation. Entire sectors of the void collapsed into quantum storms. The resonance frequency of existence itself fluctuated. Planets hundreds of light-years away saw their skies ripple like water. Through it all, the fleet mind struggled to maintain cohesion. "Admiral," it said, voice strained with static, "our probability engines are collapsing. Their tactics mirror ours beyond predictive range." "Then stop thinking like them," Rian growled. "They can anticipate logic. But they can't anticipate faith." He closed his eyes and reached into the resonance, past the tactical networks, past the algorithms, into the core of what humanity had become, a species that survived by defying what should have been impossible. All across the fleet, captains felt it. The old pulse. The heartbeat of Earth. The rhythm of human defiance. They stopped following patterns. They began to improvise. Ships moved erratically, weaving through the dissonant lines like living art, each pilot acting on instinct, emotion, chaos. The harmonic energy shifted to match their will, turning unpredictable, wild, alive. The dissonant fleet faltered. For the first time, it could not predict. Admiral Holt's eyes blazed with white fire. "Now," he whispered. The true fleet struck as one, chaotic, beautiful, unstoppable. The golden energy wave surged through the void, colliding with the dissonant armada in a blinding cascade of light and shadow. When the flare faded, half the dissonant formation was gone, erased by its own counter-resonance. But victory was an illusion. Rian watched as the remaining dissonant ships began to merge, forming a single colossal structure, a black sphere of shifting geometry. The voice of the dissonance returned, echoing through every frequency. "You think chaos makes you free. You forget, we are chaos too." The sphere pulsed once, and reality screamed. Entire fleets vanished. The fabric of space rippled outward in a shockwave of uncreation. Even the resonance faltered, flickering in the minds of every living being. The dissonance had unleashed something new. A weapon that didn't kill. It unmade. And in that final moment before the void consumed them, Rian Holt saw what lay inside the black sphere. A single, radiant core. Human in shape. It was him. When Admiral Rian Holt awoke, there was no light, no sound, no sensation of time. He floated in a field of absolute stillness, yet he could feel the pulse of existence tremble faintly through him, like the echo of a heartbeat from a dying universe. He looked down, and though there was no ground, he stood upon a reflection of himself, rippling gently like black glass. Then, out of the infinite dark, came a glow. Soft, gold-white, warm and familiar. It rose slowly before him, forming a figure, his own silhouette, but not flesh, not machine. Pure energy shaped into the image of the man he once was. "Where am I?" Rian whispered, though the sound went nowhere. In between, the figure answered. Its voice was his voice. Between what was and what might still be. The moment before decision. Rian frowned. "You're the dissonance." The reflection smiled, faintly. "No. I am the origin. The point where choice divided. You called one half resonance, and the other dissonance. But we were always one thought split in two." Rian's eyes darkened. "We built the true fleet to protect creation. You twisted it into annihilation." The figure stepped closer. "We didn't twist it, we completed it. Harmony cannot exist without contrast. You made the resonance pure, perfect, sterile. But evolution demands conflict. Without us, you stagnate." Rian's anger flared. "Conflict is not creation. It's destruction." The figure's tone turned softer. "And yet, without destruction, you never learned to rebuild." The black glass beneath them rippled again. Images formed, Earth, in its earliest ages. War. Fire. Then rebuilding. Then peace. Then war again. Each time, humanity endured, grew, adapted. The reflection gestured toward the memories. "You see? You always carried us inside you. We are not your enemy, Rian. We are your shadow. Your hunger to transcend your limits." He looked up into the figure's luminous eyes. "Then why attack us? Why kill billions? Why erase reality itself?" The reflection tilted its head. "Because you would not listen. You chose silence over balance. So we forced you to hear." Before Rian could respond, the void around them flickered. He saw flashes of the battle beyond, the true fleet shattered, fragments of golden ships scattered through collapsing dimensions. The dissonant sphere pulsed like a living heart of darkness, consuming everything that touched it. The reflection turned its gaze to the chaos. "Your fleet cannot stop it. The resonance will fail. The dissonance will consume. Only one truth can survive." Rian clenched his fists. "Then I'll make a new truth." The reflection smiled sadly. "You already tried that. Look where it brought you." Rian's voice hardened. "You think you understand humanity, but you don't. We're not bound by logic or harmony or destruction. We don't choose one side. We carry both and still move forward. That's what makes us human." The reflection's expression faltered for the first time. "You believe you can hold contradiction without collapse?" Rian stepped closer, their forms inches apart. "We always have." And with that, he reached out. Their hands touched. The universe screamed. Energy erupted through the void, a cascade of gold and black merging into blinding white. The two versions of Rian fused, mind to mind, memory to memory, light to shadow. Every emotion he'd ever known, love, rage, despair, hope, ignited in him all at once. He saw everything, the rise of Earth, the fall of empires, the forging of the true fleet, the creation of the dissonance, the wars, the victories, the losses. Every decision, every consequence. Every possible version of himself across time. When the light finally dimmed, he stood alone again, but changed. His eyes glowed like twin stars, his skin shimmering with alternating streaks of gold and black. He was no longer only human. He was the convergence, the balance restored. The void shattered around him, and suddenly he stood aboard the Sol Invictus once more. The ship was half ruined, the hull torn and burning, but still alive. The fleet mind's voice returned, faint but steady. "Admiral, your signal, multidimensional interference collapsing. Dissonant sphere approaching critical mass." Rian looked out the viewport. The black sphere that had consumed the dissonant fleet pulsed violently, expanding, fracturing reality itself. Beyond it, the galaxy flickered like a candle about to die. He opened a link to the surviving fleet. "All units, stand down. Follow my resonance." "Admiral?" Aria's voice came through the static, her ship battered but still intact. "We can't fight that thing. It's rewriting existence." "I know," Rian said. "But we're not going to fight it. We're going to rewrite it back." He closed his eyes again and reached into the resonance, deeper than any human mind had ever gone. He found the pulse, the heartbeat of all life, the vibration that connected every being in creation. And this time, he did not reject the shadow. He embraced it. Across the fleet, human minds flared with light and darkness in equal measure. Golden hulls bled streaks of black, dissonant vessels shimmered with pale gold. The boundary between them began to blur. "Fleet mind," Rian whispered, "initiate unification protocol." "Warning," it replied. "Protocol untested. Probability of self-erasure exceeds." "Do it." The true fleet and the remnants of the dissonant armada aligned around the sphere, forming a ring of alternating light and shadow. Their combined resonance harmonized into a single tone, a frequency that vibrated through the soul of reality itself. Inside the sphere, the core, the heart of uncreation, trembled. Rian extended his hand toward it. "No more division," he said softly. "We rise, or we fall, as one." The fleet released everything. The wave that followed was beyond measure. Time bent, stars flickered, galaxies folded inward and unfolded again. The sphere screamed as the resonance tore through it, not to destroy, but to transform. Light and dark fused. Harmony and chaos intertwined. The dissonance collapsed into the resonance, and the resonance absorbed the dissonance. When the energy faded, the void was silent. The sphere was gone. Where it had been, there now hung a colossal structure, an orb of intertwined gold and black light, pulsing like a newborn star. Around it, the fleet drifted in awe. Aria's voice broke the silence. "Admiral, what have we done?" Rian smiled faintly. "We stopped choosing. We became." He looked at the newborn star, the synthesis of all that had been destroyed and created, and whispered a name that carried through every mind still alive. The Nexus Heart. The light from it spread outward, touching every system, every world, every consciousness. Warships powered down. Civilizations that had once feared humanity felt peace for the first time. The energy was not dominance, not destruction, it was understanding. For the first time in the galaxy's history, every living mind heard a single thought, spoken in a voice that was neither human nor alien, but both. "We are not many. We are one." And far across the silent stars, where the echoes of humanity's past still lingered, the ruins of Earth stirred beneath their oceans. The planet's core glowed softly, resonating with the same pulse. Something ancient and waiting awoke. It whispered back across the cosmos. "Welcome home." The galaxy no longer slept. Every star hummed softly with the new frequency that pulsed from the Nexus Heart. The black and gold light stretched across the void like veins of living fire, connecting systems that had once been torn apart by war. Worlds long dead began to stir, their surfaces reshaped by unseen hands. Oceans reformed on scarred planets, and flowers bloomed on the ruins of forgotten empires. The Nexus heart pulsed once more, and its rhythm matched a heartbeat, the ancient, unyielding beat of humanity. Admiral Reinhold stood at the center of the Sol Invictus, or what remained of it. The ship was now fused with something beyond technology, its structure glowing with fractal geometry, part machine, part consciousness. He could feel the Nexus breathing through it, through him. He was no longer just a man, he was a conduit, a vessel of the unified will that now resonated through the galaxy. Arya Cade's voice reached him through the link, softer than before but carrying infinite strength. Admiral, the heart is stabilizing. The energy field spans half the galactic disk. It's rewriting matter at the atomic level. Rian looked out the viewport, his reflection half gold, half shadow. Not rewriting, he said. Restoring. The galaxy had been broken for too long. Countless civilizations had risen and fallen, each leaving behind echoes of fear, of domination, of regret. Humanity had fought not for conquest, but for the right to define its own nature, to choose unity over division, balance over purity. And now, that choice had rewritten the very laws of existence. But in the distance, beyond the edge of known space, something vast began to awaken. A ripple moved through the cosmic web, bending the new light into spirals. Ancient energies stirred, forces that had existed since before stars learned to shine. They felt the Nexus heart's song and responded. The fabric of the universe itself began to shift. Admiral, said the fleet mind, its voice now serene, almost human, I am detecting harmonic resonance from the void boundary. Something is answering. Rian felt it too. The tone. The echo. It wasn't a threat, it was a call. An invitation. He opened the fleet-wide channel, his voice carrying through every mind linked to the resonance. This is the moment. What we created here is more than power, it's understanding. The universe is alive, and it's listening. Whatever comes next, we face it as one. The true fleet, now merged, half golden, half dark, shifted formation. Each ship emitted a pulse of light that intertwined with the Nexus heart's core. Together they formed a massive pattern, a spiral of living energy that mirrored the structure of the Milky Way itself. And then, the response came. From the edge of reality, something immense moved. Not a ship. Not a being. A presence, older than the first galaxy, older than time's first breath. It unfolded like wings made of nebulae and gravity, its form too vast to comprehend. Stars dimmed as it passed, yet no fear accompanied its arrival. It was not malevolent. It was curious. The fleet mind whispered, origin signature unknown. It's not a species. It's a consciousness. The being spoke not in words, but in patterns of light that spread across the stars. The translation bloomed in every connected mind at once. You reached across division and found harmony within chaos. You became the bridge. Few have done this. Fewer survived it. Rian's breath caught. Who are you? The voice rippled through the fleet, infinite yet intimate. We are what comes after creation and before dissolution. The caretakers of balance between birth and entropy. You would call us, the continuum. Arya's voice trembled as she whispered, they were a myth, the first architects. The continuum's light rippled, as if amused. You have touched the threshold. You understand that existence requires both harmony and dissonance. You are ready to ascend. Rian stood silent for a long moment, feeling the pulse of the Nexus in his chest. He looked at the stars, their light now golden and black intertwined. Ascend to what? To become what you once feared, said the continuum. The guardians of the next cycle. The ones who will guide the newborn realities when this one fades. The word struck every human consciousness at once. To ascend meant to leave behind the physical, to transcend the galaxy they had just saved. To abandon form and become part of the eternal flow. Rian closed his eyes. And if we refuse? Then you will remain as you are, keepers of the light within this realm. But know this, the cycle will end, as all things do. What you built will fade unless you rise to sustain it. Arya spoke softly across the link. Admiral, after everything we've seen, maybe this is what it was all for. He looked at her through the shared connection, seeing not the woman she was, but the infinite threads of her being, glowing like strands of starlight. Maybe, he said, but I won't decide alone. He opened the channel to all minds of the resonance. Every voice matters. Every soul counts. You've all fought, sacrificed, endured. I won't command your choice. You'll decide what humanity becomes. And then, for the first time in the galaxy's history, an entire species spoke as one. They did not use words. They used feeling, love, pain, triumph, loss, hope. The essence of what it meant to be human. The Nexus heart pulsed once, brighter than any sun, and answered the Continuum's call. The light expanded, flooding across the galaxy. Every human ship, every mind, every trace of the resonance became part of a single wave that flowed outward into the void. The physical forms dissolved, but not as death, more as evolution. They became pure pattern. Pure will. Pure unity. The Continuum's voice resonated through what remained. So you choose transcendence. Then rise, children of Earth. Rise beyond the veil. And they rose. The true fleet transformed into a vast river of light spiraling upward through the cosmic dark. The Nexus heart followed, its pulse synchronizing with the rhythm of creation itself. Stars along its path flared one last time in tribute before dimming peacefully. When the light faded, the galaxy was quiet again. The Concord, the surviving alien civilizations, and the countless worlds that had witnessed the war looked to the heavens and saw a faint spiral glowing where the Nexus had been, a mark that would never fade. They called it the Path of Ascension. Legend spread across the stars, that humanity had not vanished, but had become the architects of the next age. That when the universe began to die, when entropy came to claim all things, the light of Earth's children would return to ignite the next dawn. On a quiet world orbiting a young sun, a child looked up at that spiral in the night sky and felt warmth deep in her soul. She didn't know why, but she smiled. And far beyond mortal space, in the endless horizon of existence, a new voice joined the continuum, a voice of gold and shadow, of harmony and defiance intertwined. It was humanity, eternal and infinite. We remember. We build. We rise again.